If they join us now and on top of your screen, you go see say na Chief Femi Fani-Kayode we carry come the show today. Good evening, Chief Femi Fani-Kayode.
Good evening. Good evening.
It's very good to have you join us. Thank you for joining us this evening. Without wasting much of our time, you're aware of the event of today as regards Mr. Sunday Igboho. First and foremost, let me ask you, what's your impression, what's your thought about what happens today?
Well, I'm deeply concerned. I'm concerned because Chief Sunday Adeyemo, who is also known as Sunday Igboho, is a good friend of mine. He's a confidant and he's somebody that I trust, somebody that I've worked closely with in the sense that we have together built bridges with people from outside Yoruba land, somebody that has honored his word in terms of protecting the lives and properties of non-Yorubas in the Southwest, somebody that was part and parcel, in fact, integral and essential to a deal that we struck just a few months ago with northern food traders and the people of the North to ensure we had peace in our country, and he guaranteed their safety and security in the Southwest. So this is somebody that, despite his views about self-determination and Oduduwa Republic, he's also a great believer in peace, a great believer in building bridges, and somebody that has spoken and acted as an honorable man, a man of honor. So what has happened, or what happened yesterday, has caused deep concern in my mind, body, spirit, and soul, just as it has in the minds, bodies, and souls of millions of people from all over this country, and particularly from the Southwest.
Okay, thank you. Considering that this is coming just a few days after Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the IPOB, was arrested, what's your thought? What do you think is going on?
Well, these are two completely separate incidents and issues as far as I'm concerned. The approach of the two gentlemen, and I know them both very, very well. They're both my friends, even though we may not agree on everything with Nnamdi Kanu, but he is my friend, and I never deny my friends in good or in bad times. Different issues. The Southwest has not been subjected to the kind of violence that we have seen in the Southeast over the last few months, policemen and soldiers. We do not have people in the Southwest that kill Hausa Fulanis at will or kill people at will. The only enemies that our people have are the foreign, mainly foreign Fulani terrorists that are killing our people from the forests. In the Southeast, it was very different, where you had a situation whereby two sides were killing one another at will. I don't know. They've never admitted to killing, and I don't know that they kill people. But even ESN of that, all I know is there was a group of people, police soldiers and policemen, were also targeting people that they believe belonged to ESN and IPOB. And I think that violence on either side, coming from any quarter, is quite reprehensible, and I've always renounced it. So that was what was happening in the Southeast. And of course, the circumstances under which Nnamdi Kanu were brought back are questionable. We still don't have all the details. We'll wait and see what really happened. I have called that they should treat him in a fair, humane manner and allow him to have the full protection of the law, which I sincerely hope they will. I believe they will. But so that's that situation. But the Southwest and what has happened to my friend and brother Sunday Igboho is something that is inexplicable. And it has set off a chain of outrage in the hearts and minds of millions of people in the Southwest who have called people like me today. A number of leaders have called and said, look, you told us that we could have peace. You told us that this sort of thing wouldn't happen, providing we build bridges and providing we speak to the government and we speak to the people of the North and we join hands together. You told us that we could voice our opinion freely about self-determination without being visited with violence, without being visited with anger, without being visited with murder. And they are now saying people like us have not been telling them the truth. And this is my greatest fear, that moderate voices from the Southwest may one day be swept aside, and the more radical elements who do not believe in dialogue will now hold sway. I pray that doesn't happen. But Sunday Igboho, whether you like him or not, is literally the living manifestation of Oduduwa. He represents the virtues of courage, of strength, and of fairness that the Yoruba people have built the foundation of their cultural civilization and history on for thousands of years. And believe me, even if they kill him, or even if they jail him or lock him up for whatever reason, there were millions of others that will rise up. So I would call on the government to please approach this matter with caution. And let us try and build those bridges again. And remember, this is a man that brought peace to us a few months ago when people in the North were threatening to kill Southerners because of some killings of Northerners in the South. And he guaranteed the killing of Northerners would stop. And based on that guarantee, the food embargo was lifted. Nobody was killed in the North. Nobody was killed in the South. The killings and targets of Hausa Fulani in the South were stopped. This was a man that assisted in stopping the killings in Shasha. I was in Ibadan at the time, and I saw him. And he insisted that those killings must stop in Bodija and in Shasha and places like that. And this is a man that has always sought for dialogue and is in touch with many people from outside Yoruba land, trying to ensure that we have peace in our country, even though we may not all agree on how to move forward. So that should be a consideration in the hearts and minds of those within the security forces that for some reason want to kill him. And I think that's unfortunate. And I might add this, I'm not sure that actually represents the view of President Muhammadu Buhari. I don't know, but I'd be very, very surprised if there wasn't more to this than meets the eye and that somebody was just trying to set him up and set government against him.
Okay, you've made mention about his quest for the Yoruba nation. He's been at the forefront and he's been very vocal about it. Do you think this might dampen the spirit of the people, especially now that it is what it is with what we are seeing now?
Well, let me tell you this. Anybody that believes this will dampen the enthusiasm of the Yoruba nationalists does not know who or what the Yoruba are. If you look at the history of the Yoruba people, for thousands of years, we have flourished and thrived and gone from strength to strength after persecution, after being attacked, and after being subjected to all kinds of unpleasant things from people from outside. Before the British came, the Yorubas were fighting civil wars for 100 years. We've never been conquered before. We've never been defeated. And we're not the kind of people that sit back quietly when we're being kicked around. If you look at the role of the Yorubas in the Civil War of Nigeria, the role of the 3rd Marine Commando, you'd know that essentially it was a 3rd Marine Commando that won the Civil War for Nigeria. And if you know the role of the Yoruba in stopping the Fulani conquest, coming down, stopping them at Oshogbo once and for all, I believe it was in 1840, you know the Yorubas are not the type of people anybody can just get up and say, we are going to subjugate or destroy. Now, the call for Yoruba nationalism is real. It's a reality. And it's something we need to deal with. We may not all agree with that call. In fact, you know, I believe there's a majority of Yorubas that feel that, but it doesn't mean to say that we all need to believe in that call. But what we need to understand is that people do have the right to express their views, and it's left for the rest of Nigeria to give our people a reason for wanting to stay in. And that's where I stand. Look, no matter what anybody believes, whether you're an integrationist, you're a separatist, or you just believe in restructuring, as we speak today, we are Nigerians, and we must ensure that we have peace in our country. We must have no violence. No form of terrorism should be taking place in this country. And the government should do what it needs to do to stop the terrorists from killing, you know, innocent people in our country. What we are seeing now, sadly, is a situation whereby those that are seeking to resist terrorism are themselves now being targeted by people for reasons that are quite beyond me. If you wanted to see Sunday Igboho, you invite him. And he's a man of courage. He would certainly have responded to any invitation in a very positive way. He's not running from anybody. He's not a fugitive. He hasn't killed people, as far as I'm aware. And he's certainly not encouraging others to kill people. In fact, he protected and guaranteed the protection of many people in the Southwest. So it's based on that I think that all men of goodwill should come together from north, east, west, and south. And I know many people in government who are decent people, and who do not believe in this course of action, as well as those outside the government, those in PDP, APC, and those that are not in politics at all, who just think this is an error of judgment, and we need to retrace our steps and appeal to our government not to allow this to push us into a situation that is uncontrollable, because that would be the worst thing that could happen. War is not an option for our country. We must not think about it. We must not allow ourselves to be pushed into it as a consequence of any form of provocation. Well, would you listen? Negotiation is something that is essential at the end of the day if you don't want violence. I mean, it's either you negotiate or you say you're going to kill and crush all your enemies. Igboho is not an enemy to anybody, simply because you do not share his views, or simply because he's from the Southwest, or simply because he comes from, Ibarapa in Ibadan in Oyo State. That doesn't make him an enemy.
Chief,
He is a nice
before I say they didn't hear my last question, so I'm just going to ask that question again. I was asking, you said negotiation is key in solving what we have at hand now. We spoke with Chief Igbo earlier today, and he told us that he's afraid for his life. Do you still think they can bring him to the table?
I believe that all things are possible providing life is not taken. He's still alive. We thank God. It's very sad that at least 2 people were killed in his home and taken away. It's very sad that others have been killed in the Southwest and indeed in the Southeast. Any life that goes is a terrible thing. But there's still hope for us all to sit down and talk and work this out. He's not a coward. He's a courageous man. He's a strong man. And I'm sure that if the atmosphere was right, and was conducive, I'm sure he'd be reasonable to sit down and talk. He has his views, strong views, and he's entitled to those views, just like others have views too. But we are Nigerians. We should be able to work these things out. We should be able to talk to one another without killing one another, without arresting one another, and without demonizing one another and turning people into the enemy of the state for no reason at all. He is far from being an enemy of the state. He is far from it. The state may not share his views, but he's open to discussion, he's open to negotiation, and providing his life is not threatened, I don't see why we can't sit down and talk and work this out. That is the only way to ensure that we have peace in our country. Let me add this. The greatest mistake that any individual, any government, or any group of people could ever make is to allow for Sunday Igboho to be killed. That would take us to a point of no return. And I mean that. I'm not threatening anybody. Everybody knows that I have been trying to build bridges. I believe in peace. I believe in discussion and negotiation. And we've done a lot between the Southwesterners and the many Southwest and Northern leaders. And I'm very proud of that. Sunday was integral in that. Whoever it was that gave that order for him to be treated in this way and almost killed, I do not believe can be a friend of President Buhari or somebody that is truly in support of this government. I believe it is the work of somebody that is simply trying to undermine the government, undermine the efforts of peace, and cause us to have a war in this country. I've always said, and I still believe that there are foreign elements that have. I have to see that. I have a lot of information you may not have, but I see that all over this. To kill somebody that has proved to be reasonable and rational and open to this. Doesn't make sense.
Okay, a lot of people are saying government hasn't been very swift with arresting Boko Haram leaders and bandits in the country, especially in the northern parts. But they've been very swift in taking action against some other people like Nnamdi Kanu and say Mr. Sunday Igboho over time. Do you suspect impartiality or partiality of any kind? Do you suspect this is not fair? I don't know if you can hear me, Chief.
It's breaking.
Coyote.
Yeah, you are breaking.
Okay, so
yes, I can hear you now. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so I was saying that a lot of people are saying that federal government has not been very swift in taking action against terrorists in the northern part of the country, and the challenge of bandits and banditry and arresting the bandits, but they've been very swift when it comes to taking action against some other people. Do you suspect partiality?
Well, you know my views, and I've stated my views over the years about the way in which the government has behaved concerning security issues. I believe strongly that there has not been a level playing field. For quite a long time, I believe the government was quite soft on the foreign Fulani terrorists and even on Boko Haram in many respects. I do, however, say this, and I have to say this, that in the last few months, it's very clear to me that there has been a greater effort on the part of the government to take on the Fulani terrorists. I mean, I can tell you many of them have been killed in places like Zamfara and so on and so forth. They've been doing this, and they've also tried their best to effect a change in the Southwest by, giving the license to the security force to actually eliminate those that carry AK-47. Now, it may not be enough, but they're certainly doing more than they were doing before. And they're fighting Boko Haram in a much more positive way now than they were before. I'll give them that. However, having said that, it's still very clear that they need to do a lot more. The perception is very strong that they are not being fair, that people, those they call terrorists, who I do not believe are terrorists, from the Southeast, they say IPOB are terrorists. I don't believe that. Have been targeted and have been killed in their hundreds and have been detained in thousands. Only the other day, the lawyer for IPOB was almost killed. A good friend of mine, who is also my lawyer, Ifeanyi Ejiofor, and they killed his PA right in front of him. They raided his home, just like they raided Nnamdi's home. And and then you now have this attack on Nnamdi's home in the Southwest, quite unnecessary, unprovoked, and unnecessary. If you don't want him to have a rally, you say so. If you don't want him to go to certain meetings, you discuss. You do not try this, against certain selective groups and people certainly gives credence to the impression that the government is being partial in these matters. And that, I think, feeds into the narrative that, the government is working simply, for the Fulanis and for the Northerners and for nobody else. Now, that, I think, is unfortunate, because the reality, in my view, from the little experience I've had in the last few months with elements within this government and with elements within the APC itself, is that they do not all think like that. There are people that don't believe in that kind of agenda within the APC and within the government. I can tell you that there may well be some kind of struggle within government between those that I would call supremacists and those that are rational and decent human beings, even within themselves. But by and large, let me tell you, they need to do a lot more. And the kind of thing that happened yesterday just has to stop. I don't know how Sunday managed to escape, because we were in touch at about 3 a.m. in the morning when it was all happening. He was there. How he managed to escape is a mystery to me, but he managed to escape and he managed to get out. And I thank God for that. Had it been that they had killed him, it would have been another matter entirely for all of us. And I thank God that he's alive and well. And I thank God that we can still fix this problem and we can still sit down with the government and say, look, let this sort of thing stop before things get out of hand.
Okay, so we understand that the Yoruba Nation rally is supposed to take place in Lagos State this Saturday. Of course, he told us that it will be suspended. Do you think this is enough for the suspension of that rally?
Well, that would be a decision that can only be determined by those that are part of that rally and those that set that up. That's Sunday's group and his people and those that believe in what he believes in, and they have the right to either continue or not to continue. My own view is that the most important thing, rally or no rally, is that these type of assaults against somebody that is to all intents and purposes, the greatest hero that Yoruba land has ever known, since probably somebody like Aderelu, I think his name was, in the 18th century, and Oderele or something like that, and others, a few others. This man is a hero, together with others like Gani Adams and Baba Adebanjo and others. These are our heroes and our leaders, and to try to kill a man like that cannot be good news at all. And I would urge those of us that are politicians from the Southwest to understand that we must not demonize those that believe in a cause. This man is a Yoruba nationalist. He's not a politician, just like Gani Adams and others. And even if some of us don't share their views, we should not demonize them and set them up for destruction by whispering lies to the government against them. I have a feeling I know what's going on here. And I believe strongly that, some believe Sunday should not be allowed to go into Lagos State for reasons best known to themselves. And they're saying and doing whatever it is to stop him from doing so. But what they don't understand is this: whether he goes into Lagos State on Saturday or not, the reality is that the overwhelming majority of Yoruba youths in this country and outside this country believe in his cause, and they believe in it passionately. And what we mustn't do is poke a giant that is sleeping in the eye, or pull the tail of a lion that is simply lying down in his corner quietly by killing people that believe in such things. What you need to do is talk to them, give them reasons to perhaps change their minds, or perhaps just sit down and say, okay, fine, if that's what you want, let's have a referendum and let's negotiate. What we must not do is allow this sort of violence to continue on either side, and people are killed. Once blood is spilled, people will say there's no going back, and then you go happily or unhappily down the slide of armed conflict, which is precisely what some foreign powers want us to do in our country. They will kill each other on regional lines, religious lines, and on tribal lines. But God never allowed that to happen in Nigeria.
Okay, thank you very much, Chief Femi Fani-Kayode, for sharing your thoughts with us on this happening in the country. If you just join us, this is now BBC Pidgin, and we don't talk with Chief Femi Fani-Kayode for about 20 minutes now. You don't tell us what you think about what happened today with Mr. Sunday Igboho when house was attacked earlier this morning. You don't tell us what you think about the Yoruba Nation rally and every other thing where you supposed to know. Thank you very much for joining us again. My name is Jelilat Olawale. See you next time.
Thank you, Dominic. Bye for now. Thank you.